Armenia's story begins not with borders on a map, but with pathways carved into the earth by merchants and traders. For millennia, this land, nestled in the rugged South Caucasus, served as a vital bridge between East and West. The Armenian highlands were a natural crossroads, a place where caravans laden with silk from China would cross paths with traders carrying spices from India and glassware from the Roman Empire. Agriculture formed the bedrock upon which this vibrant trade economy was built. The fertile Ararat Valley, watched over by the iconic silhouette of Mount Ararat, was a cradle of civilization. Armenian farmers were pioneers, cultivating some of the world's oldest known varieties of wheat and barley and, most famously, grapes. The cultivation of apricots became a symbol of the land's bounty. Beyond farming and trade, ancient Armenians were renowned for their exceptional craftsmanship. They were master stonemasons, carving intricate kochkars, cross-stones that stand today as monuments to their faith and artistry. They were skilled metallurgists, forging tools, weapons, and ornate jewelry from the rich mineral deposits found in their mountains. Their textiles and carpets were prized possessions in faraway lands. The strategic location that brought Armenia prosperity also made it a target. For centuries, the Armenian highlands became a battleground for competing empires: the Romans, the Parthians, and later the Byzantines and Sassanid Persians. Each invasion brought disruption. Trade routes were severed, cities were sacked, and fields were burned. The economic life of the nation was perpetually subject to the whims of foreign rulers. These periods of instability triggered significant migrations, scattering Armenians across the globe. As communities were uprooted, they took their skills, their commercial acumen, and their networks with them. Armenian merchants established powerful trading colonies in cities from Venice and Amsterdam to Madras and Isfahan. This diaspora became an economic lifeline, a global network that could channel resources back to the homeland. As the medieval period gave way to the early modern era, Armenia found itself partitioned, caught between two colossal empires, the Ottoman to the west and the Persian to the east. Western Armenia, under Ottoman rule, saw its economy integrated into a vast system. Armenian merchants, known as emiras, played crucial roles in the empire's finance and trade, yet faced heavy taxation and restrictions. In eastern Armenia, Shah Abbas forcibly relocated a large Armenian population to his new capital, Isfahan. There, in New Julfa, they became the backbone of Persia's international silk trade. The arrival of the Russian Empire in the early 19th century marked another dramatic shift. Russia absorbed eastern Armenia, bringing new infrastructure like roads and railways, introducing industrialization. The establishment of the Armenian Soviet Socialist Republic in 1920 ushered in the most radical economic transformation in the nation's history. The old ways were swept aside by centrally planned vision. Private land ownership was abolished. Farms were consolidated into large, state-run collectives, shattering the traditional village structure and severing the deep connection between farmers and their land. Giant factories were constructed to produce synthetic rubber, chemicals, textiles, and machinery. Cities like Yerevan, Gyumri, and Vanadzor grew dramatically as people moved from countryside to industrial centers. Armenia became deeply integrated into the Soviet supply chain, producing specific goods sent across the USSR. This created profound economic dependency, but provided stability and employment unknown before. The Soviets invested heavily in education and research, creating institutions that produced world-class physicists, mathematicians, and programmers. This intellectual infrastructure was the most valuable legacy of the Soviet period. The 1990s began with Armenia facing a perfect storm of crises. The Soviet Union was collapsing, a devastating earthquake had shattered the industrial north, and the conflict with Azerbaijan led to a crippling blockade. GDP plummeted by 50%. Known as the dark and cold years, electricity was available only 1 or 2 hours daily. People cut down trees in city parks for firewood. Hyperinflation wiped out savings. Armenia embarked on radical shock therapy reforms. It was one of the first former Soviet republics to privatize land in 1991, returning land to farmers and creating private landowners. By the decade's end, recovery was visible. A new private sector emerged focused on services, trade, and manufacturing. Remittances from the diaspora provided crucial foreign currency support. The 2000s marked a turning point. Between 2001 and 2007, Armenia experienced double-digit GDP growth, earning it the nickname, the Caucasian Tiger. Yerevan's skyline was transformed. Armenia pivoted toward a service-based economy, leveraging its talent in mathematics, engineering, and computer science. The IT sector became a strategic masterstroke for a blockaded, landlocked country. By the 2010s, services became the largest GDP contributor at over 55%. This included IT, finance, tourism, and trade. The diaspora played key roles through investment and skills transfer. Global brands like PixArt and Crisp, founded by Armenians, became symbols of technological prowess, showing Armenia could compete globally while diversifying trade relationships with the EU and regional partners. As of 2025, Armenia presents dynamic growth tempered by challenges. Post-pandemic years brought remarkable surge, 12.6% growth in 2022, 8.7% in 2023. This boom was partly fueled by skilled professionals and capital from Russia following the Ukraine war, boosting IT, real estate, and services. GDP reached $24 billion, with per capita over 8,000. Yet challenges persist. Closed borders with Turkey and Azerbaijan continue inflating transport costs and limiting market access. Unemployment remains high, particularly among youth and in rural areas. The economy relies heavily on Russia for remittances and energy, creating vulnerability to political shifts. Diversifying trade and energy sources remains a top strategic priority for sustainable growth. Armenia's economic history is a powerful narrative of resilience. From ancient merchants plying the Silk Road to modern programmers exporting code from Yerevan, the common thread is an unyielding spirit of adaptation. The path forward focuses on deepening the transition to a knowledge-based, export-oriented economy. This means fostering innovation in every field, from precision agriculture and biotechnology to creative industries and green energy. Central to this future is overcoming physical isolation through strategic diplomacy and infrastructure. Projects like the Crossroads of Peace initiative aim to transform Armenia from landlocked to land-linked. Strengthening digital connectivity ensures every village has access to the global digital economy, creating more inclusive and geographically balanced prosperity for all citizens. By harnessing its incredible human potential and unbreakable spirit, Armenia is not just surviving its complex present, it is actively forging a stronger, more prosperous, and more connected future.